Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Yeah. Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Do your dance when the G's up. G. Spaced out. Got me geeked up. 10 toes on the west. Can I beat us? You cannot. Shining every time they meet us. Rack 'em up. Since 96. Been number one in LA. Something slight. That's the gist.
You are muted. I deadass cannot hear anything. Your mic might be.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. All right. You know, we're off to a great start, everyone. 1 minute in. I couldn't have dreamed of a better start here. Today I'm joined by LA Galaxy memes. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you? You know what? Actually, I'm not doing that good.
Oh, what's up?
I had a $775 parlay today. Missed on it because of Jude Bellingham. So there's that.
Oh, how much did you bet on it?
I mean, it was I won yesterday off of a free one. So when you win off of a free one, like the money just like transfers into like the you can't withdraw it into like a bank account. You just can use it to
Free play.
Yeah, free play. So it was a free play, and I won 70, so I put 50 in it, and it was 715.
That's a tough beat, man. That's a tough beat. You know what? It's okay. It's okay. It will be talking about the LA Galaxy, the one win LA Galaxy is gonna make your day a whole lot better. I've done prize picks, and I will tell you that stuff like that is just, I don't know how they're so accurate with it. Like, it'll be a ridiculous number too. It'll be, let's say, an NBA game. It's like over under 243 total points scored, and you're like, geez, like I don't know, like probably under, and it's over by like 1.
No, yeah, I had another one. It was the Dortmund defender under 69.5 passes. I mean, what an odd number.
164, I'm guessing he hit. You know, it's
No,
just
he actually got under. So
yeah. I mean, that stuff. I don't mess with it. I don't mess with it. They get it so accurately, and yeah, I mean, in all fairness, if you gamble your kid's college fund on it, you could pay for them to go twice. You know, maybe you don't have me as your gambling advisor, but that is definitely something you could do there. Don't bet on the Galaxy, though, guys. Do not bet on the LA Galaxy unless you're betting them to lose. That is a pretty safe bet in our current state right now. So, you know what? Let's jump right into things here. MLS All-Star Game. For the first time in LA Galaxy history, we have no All-Stars. And I don't think this shouldn't surprise anyone. You know, this really shouldn't. But go through the team here. In goal, it looks like you're going to have Pulskamp. Defender, you got Herrera, Boxall. Engel, I've never heard of that guy in defense. Maybe I'm an MLS casual. I can't pay attention to MLS like I used to when the Galaxy are doing as bad as we are. We got Dreyer in the midfield. Oh, team of the match day, really? Okay. You know what? This is going great right now. The MLS All-Star roster, you know, because I was looking through the website, MLS All-Star roster does not feature any Galaxy players. I could tell you that much. I was wondering why that was in the lineup form, by the way. You got Dane St. Clair in goal. You got Brad Stuver, Takaoka. You got Jordi Alba, Arfson, Blackman, Boxall, Freeman, Galesnis, Andy Nahar, Miles Robinson, Sebastian Berhalter, David DaCosta, Evander, Diego Luna, Pezervkov, Zinkernagel, Ajimanj, Baribo, Buanga, Dreyer, Lozano, Messi, Rossi, Vasquez, and Brian White. So no Galaxy players, and nobody really deserves to make it besides maybe Marco Royce. But what are your initial thoughts on this?
I mean, straight off the bat, I mean, you weren't expecting any Galaxy player to be in there. Let's be real. I mean, after the season that they all been having, I feel like none of them deserve it. After the 10 game streak that Marco Reus is having though, I thought he would have been like called in as the manager's pick just for like promotion, just for the money. I feel like he would have gotten the pick for that, but I don't know if they have been announced it. Have they? The manager
They
pick or
did. The manager's pick was a San Diego player. A real surprise when Mikey Vargas is the coach. And you have Dreyer, another San Diego player. Rossi from the Crew, Vasquez, and Zinkernagel, Tazervov, and David DaCosta, Danny Boanga, and Galesnes. They have a lot of coaches selections in here, actually. Arfson, Stuver, Takaoka. They got a lot of them, but Royce was not one, which is interesting. But that being said, I think this is a good thing. And Marco Royce playing an extra game with extra travel is something the Galaxy don't need right now. It's really the last thing that LA Galaxy need is Marco Royce playing unnecessary games. And I think it's a lot better that he's that he didn't make this, honestly. I don't care. I don't care about the All-Star game. Does anyone take the All-Star game serious? Like, come on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of value in the MLS All-Star game. But that being said, no Galaxy player selected. Can we just talk about the fact that even in years like 2017 and 2023 that we had players selected? 2017 was Giovanni Dos Santos, and 2023, I believe, was Ricky Puig. So we had guys selected for the All-Star game, but we, not this year, and we don't deserve any this year. I'm not arguing for a case that the Galaxy deserve. It's just funny that in other terrible years, we've at least had one. Like the fact that this was the first time this has happened to us is a bit of a surprise to me. But yeah, who let in Gio? Probably a coach's pick, honestly. So yeah, not much to say more there. But do you like charts?
Do I like charts?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You're a chart guy. Okay.
Let's
go over charts. We got two charts for you. First of all is MLS team cost efficiency. In Galaxy are dead last.
Oh, brother.
The amount of cost per point is about $2.8 million. So the Galaxy are funneling $2.8 million per point in MLS play. And it's the worst in the league. It's not really close. I mean, Toronto FC is the only one that kind of comes close to the Galaxy. And then after that, there's still a big drop off. This is real bad. But I would argue that this does not matter as much when you are putting up results. Ideally, you want to be in the middle. I think ideally you want to be in the middle of this because it shows that you're a team that spends and you're a team that's going to be a top contender, because some of these top teams I see falling off. I do not think the Vancouver Whitecaps or Philadelphia Union will represent MLS in the MLS Cup. Maybe Minnesota. I think that shows a little overperformance. Ideally, you want to be about where Cincinnati is. But what do you take away from this?
Yeah, I agree. Like all the things you said, I do agree that we should be. I think the number's too high, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's kind of worrisome, though, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. This is a worrisome chart. We're all the way at the bottom. It just kind of needs to be fixed by the start of next season, by the start of the off season, actually.
It's not, it's not so much so that we're spending money. That's the issue. AEG have always spent money for the LA Galaxy. I like that. Ideally, you want owners that spend. I mean, you could look at this. Look at the Colorado Rapids. They're up there, but they're not good. They're not really good. I mean, they might be in about the play-in line, but they're not a contender. But you ideally want to spend a good amount and still perform to that amount. The Galaxy don't. You saw the same thing in 2023 with this team, and really every year. But which, like, in the chat, what are we arguing that the Galaxy spent bad on? I can argue some contracts and allocation money, but this doesn't factor in allocation money. This is like transfer fees. And if you're talking transfer fees, I think the transfer fee for Gabriel Peck was necessary. I think that's something that you want to pay. And, you know, I definitely think that it's worth it. And this is also salaries. I just factoring in, I think Ricky Puig making as much as he does is fine. I think Peck making as much as he does is fine. Paintsil last year, yes, but he needs to be performing. But I don't think that's a bad contract. I don't think Paintsil's a bad player. I think he has a lot of quality to him. I just think right now he's in terrible form. That being said, it has to change. Go ahead.
I think we do overpay though when we're talking about transfers. I feel like we overpay just a little bit more than we're supposed to, and I feel like it's been a trend for the Galaxy in recent years. Not since Kuntz has been here, but you know, even before that, we've kind of overpaid on certain players that haven't performed, and even you know we see it in wages too. I'm pretty sure Zonka is like at 600K, right, or 700K.
Yes.
Yeah, that's way too high for a player like him. You know, not even starting. He's a rotational player at best, to be honest. He's not, you know, starting every game. He's you know, he's coming off the bench. He's a rotational player, and a rotational player making 600K a week, that is just poor management of contracts.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you bring up the player salaries right now, because that is something that I wanted to go into. Obviously, you mentioned Zonka making 600K. Now, look. Oh, shout out Lacuna Galaxia, by the way. I see you guys in the chat. We can sit here and be like, yeah, the fact that somebody like John McCarthy went from being in the 200Ks to like 450K, I think that's an MLS Cup bonus. I think that's an MLS Cup bonus, and it's something in the contract where it's like, okay, you can take that hit. McCarthy was the starting goalkeeper in an MLS Cup winning team. It's a lot of money to be paying for him now, and it's something that we're going to be off the books for after this season, but it's okay. You're okay paying that much right now for John McCarthy just because he won us an MLS Cup. It's not like the Galaxy renegotiated here. John McCarthy in particular is making almost 475K, which is a lot of money to be the backup goalkeeper for the LA Galaxy, but we'll go through some other ones right now. Eric Zavaleta is another one that got a contract bump. I know everyone's favorite Eric Zavaleta went from making near league minimum at around 100K last year to almost 200K. It's not a lot of money, but an almost double jump in Eric Zavaleta's contract for nothing, pretty much. It's an MLS Cup thing. I get it, but that hurts, right? That hurts. Maya Yoshida. The big thing this offseason was Maya Yoshida needs to take a pay cut because we can't afford him. How much was that pay cut going to be? It was around 300K. Maya Yoshida is making around 525K right now. I would argue that, you know, in 2020 hindsight, he should be making less. But we'll quickly go through these other ones. Miki Amane, 850K. Elijah Winder, 175K. Brady Scott, 100K. Lucas Sanabria, 700K. Marco Royce, 1.1 mil. Ruben Ramos, 80K. Christian Ramirez, 575K. Ricky Puig, almost $6 million, worth every cent, and should probably be demanding more. Parente, 100K. Paintsil, 4.2 million. Jonathan Perez, 333K. 291K for John Nelson. Nascimento, 600K. Harbor Miller, 80K. Novak Mitrovic, 175. McCarthy, we already discussed. JT Marcinkowski, 250K for a third stringer. Lefty, 82K. Zonka, 600. Garces, 475K. Peck, 2.5 mil. Fagundes, 1.3 mil. Asenge, 80K. Cuevas, 175K. Cerrillo, 550K. Miguel Berry, 231K. Ade, 360K. It's a lot of numbers, and it's very overwhelming. But what stands out to you?
Honestly, the one that stood out to me was Fagundes at 1.3 mil. Usually to me, that's it's crazy high. When I thought about Fagundes' salary, I thought he was going to be like around 600K, 700K. And for it to be at 1.3 mil, that it just shows the bad management of the contract situation at Galaxy.
And we do get out of that. We do get out of that after this season. Luckily for the LA Galaxy, we will not be on the hook for that anymore. Ramirez might stand out as a salary that looks high at 570K, but Christian Ramirez will be off the books after this year, and maybe the Galaxy can negotiate down. For a backup striker, it's a lot. It's a lot for a backup striker, but it wasn't a contract that we gave him. It was a contract that we inherited from the Columbus Crew. So just wanted to note that. Marco Royce making 1.1 mil at the start of the season. I was like, yeah, that's obviously an overpay. Right now, that's about right. That's about right.
Yeah.
Although, we still got one more year after that. And Marco Royce making $1.1 million next season might not look great if he doesn't retire after this year, which, geez, after this season, I wouldn't blame him. The thing I want to note on this is the fact that we have 4 goalkeepers making over $1 million combined. And not one of them has really stood out to me. Not one of them I could say, yeah, this is an elite MLS goalkeeper. Zonka making 600K, Yoshida making over 500K. That's $1.1 million in 2 bad center backs. We'll talk about Zonka and his game against San Jose later. I didn't think he was bad in that game. But if you're spending on 4 goalkeepers over $1 million and 2 bad center backs, $1.1 million, we can talk about the LA Galaxy, being in a salary cap issue, all the salary cap issues that they had to face this offseason, shipping off Mark Delgado, something they didn't want to do. And just all the things we inherited. I mean, we grew over $1 million over the cap just by Peck and Dejan Joveljic growing a year older. It's rough, but we can talk about all of that and all the cap issues and blame MLS, but we have to take some responsibility too here. Look at the players that we just talked about that are being way overpaid. 4 goalkeepers over $1 million. Not one of them's really good. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to blow through. Diego Fagundes alone is $1.3 million, and he's backup caliber. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think the Galaxy have to do some looking at themselves this offseason?
Yeah, 100%. You definitely have to, reconstruct some salaries, even if it means, maybe letting go of some players. I would assume that we let go of Fagundes after the season. I would also assume, we don't keep Zonko and Yoshida retires after the season. So we, that's already like $1 million of salary, 2.3 million of salary cap, that we have. I'd also think we should, get rid of Marcinkowski. I don't think there's a need for that third keeper, especially if we're not playing him. If it's just between McCarthy and Mikovic, I think there's no need for a third keeper, and it's just 200K on the salary cap as well. That's just being hogged.
Yeah. I think JT Marcinkowski is fine at that salary if he's the backup. I think he's okay in that salary if you offload one of the goalkeepers in the summer between John McCarthy and Novak Mitrovic, and it's looking a lot more like John McCarthy, and I think that's the one that you do away with. We got a question in the chat, and I will be crunching some numbers right now on how much money approximately the LA Galaxy will get out of this offseason, which should be a very interesting, that's a very good question because it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of money that the LA Galaxy will no longer have to pay. We talk about 2026, and if you've heard us in previous podcasts, I, in particular, am very optimistic on 2026, and this is part of the reason why I'm optimistic is the fact that the LA Galaxy are going to get out of a lot of salaries. And obviously not all of these people are going to end up leaving. And I think there will be some people dealed out like Jonathan Perez that are still under contract. But we will be freed of these salaries. And when I'm looking at this, while I crunch some numbers here, memes, do you find any good value contracts here? Because I think there's some good value contracts, but what do you see as a good value contract in the numbers that we just went through for the LA Galaxy? Anything that we want to definitely retain?
Anything you want to retain? Maybe like the players we just mentioned, or like the whole team in general.
The whole team. Any good value contracts?
Honestly, I think the other contract is a good one.
Okay.
I think he's a good one. The whole midfield itself, it's kind of good, like regardless of Puig because he's a DP, but Cerrillo, Sanabria, Parente, and I think Winder's the only one that's a little bit too high for my liking just because of his caliber. He hasn't, lived up to what everybody thought about him. He's kind of dropped down to Ventura County, so that kind of needs reconstruction as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I like the whole midfield, the contract situation. I think that's kind of like the area where it's the most leveled.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I got a number here. This is an approximate number. The LA Galaxy will be freeing themselves in this offseason by expiring contracts alone. Do you want to take a guess at this? Do you want to take a guess at how much money we're about to free ourselves from?
Is it going to be higher than $2 million?
Yeah.
Damn.
This is not counting a U22 spot that will be open.
I'm going to go with $3.4 million.
3.7. 3.7 plus a U22 contract if they decide to not extend Nascimento one more year. So when we talk about the fact that the LA Galaxy are set up to be contenders in 2026, this is what I'm talking about. You retain all three of your DP core that won you an MLS Cup in 2024. If you want to dish out Ade, and we'll go over some Ade transfer rumors very soon. If you want to dish out Ade, that's definitely something you could do. You could open up two U22 spots and approximately $3.7 million in allocation money. Your DP core is intact. Yeah, that's a contending team. That's a contending team. If they nail those signings, it will be a contending team. Of course, not all those players will go. I could see a guy like Ramirez coming back for the right price. It won't be almost $600K, though. It'll be more like maybe $300. If I'm looking at good contracts here, I think a good contract for the LA Galaxy. Novak Mitrovic being a shout in there, $175K if he's your guy.
100%.
That's a fine contract.
Do you think if we sell McCarthy or McCarthy's gone after the season and Mikovic is the starting keeper that he gets a salary cap bump?
Yes. I do think that will happen at a point. I also think that JT Marcinkowski is a guy that you can probably, I don't know if he's out of contract because we just signed him. So I would assume that he's under contract by what I've researched. He will be under contract for next year. He can compete for the number one spot, in my opinion. I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. I think he's worthy of that competition. And at the very minimum, I think he's a backup. Isaiah Parente at $100K, I think, is a very good contract. I think he is very overqualified. And by the way, once again, if I'm an MLS team and I'm seeing Isaiah Parente is not getting minutes, I'm calling up the LA Galaxy and I'm saying, hey, we'll give him minutes and we get to take this really cheap contract. Shoot, we'll give you like $150K in allocation money. And Winder's salary, asking the chat's $175K. I would expect that to go up with time. I would expect every season that grows a little more because it's a 5-year contract. Look, I want to talk about someone here, and I swear I don't have an agenda against him. But when I see this figure, it makes me really uncomfortable is the fact that Miki Amane is making $850K. With the drop off I've seen from Miki Amane from this last season to this season, that's an absurd amount to be paying for Miki Amane, in my opinion. I think it's way too much. And furthermore, if he still plays this bad, I would be fine if he dish him out after this year, because you have a guy like Mauricio Cuevas making 168K versus Miki Amane's 850. You know, I don't have an agenda against Miki Amane. I just think that salary is a lot of money. But
yeah, and I feel like Cuevas' end product lately has been a lot more better than Yamane's.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think what he provides going forward has been a lot better this year. And he's definitely taking steps up as a player. We got another chart for you guys here. It's once again, I think it's a little different from this one. This is just a compilation of the cost per point versus the guaranteed comp. You see that the Galaxy, once again, at the top here, it's just paying 20 million in salaries. You know, you're paying 20 million in salary. Can we talk about the fact that I think if you're Ricky Puig's agent, you're telling him to ask for more money. If we get away with Ricky Puig not being on 6 million next year, and it's 6 million, that's a lot of money, but dude, we have 1 win in 20 games without Ricky Puig. You know, like if you're the agent of Ricky Puig, you're saying, hey, LA Galaxy, you guys have 1 win without me. I deserve to be one of the highest paid players in Major League Soccer. You know, he should have won MVP last year. And he's the best player in MLS. He's the best player in MLS. He deserves it. He deserves a lot more money than he's making. So I think Ricky Puig definitely needs to ask for more money. Do you agree?
I agree. 100%. He's shown it this season by not playing that.
Yeah.
He's by far the most valuable player on any, in the entire MLS, especially on the Galaxy, without a doubt. You know, the impact he has on the team, it's showing.
Yeah, I think he's raised his value more by not playing than if he would have played. Yeah. We got a transfer rumor here. Before we dive into the San Jose game, is that, we talk about having 4 goalkeepers and having a lot of high-paid goalkeepers. We got another goalkeeper rumor here. The LA Galaxy are reportedly interested in goalkeeper Etienne Vassin from FC Groningen. It's a mouthful. He's 29 years old. He played 32 matches in the Netherlands while featuring in the Gold Cup for Suriname. I don't think this is our rumor. I've seen it out there. I posted it. This is something that, maybe the Galaxy are. Maybe they're not confident in Novak Mitrovic. Maybe they want to deal Novak and McCarthy out in the summer. But I don't know. I don't see it. Why would we carry 5 goalkeepers? Maybe this is something for next year. But what are your initial thoughts?
I think this rumor is just, borderline. Doesn't make any sense. We don't need another keeper, and I'm kind of leaning to Mikovic. I'm trying to get back onto the hype train surrounding him. I think he's been pretty good like the last couple of games. The goal that they scored against him versus San Jose, I mean, that wasn't his fault. Let's just start there. But the game against St. Louis, he had a great game, and why not just keep playing him forward? We have nothing to lose this season. I think just bringing in another keeper into the mix would just leave us back at square one, essentially, and it would just create more problems than we already had.
I think this is an LAFC rumor.
Yeah,
I agree with Samuel in the chat. This is an LAFC rumor. This is a classic one of those. People do not know who LAFC is in Europe. They don't. Hugo Lloris is leaving the club. They are interested in a goalkeeper from the Bundesliga, I believe. But this is probably another guy that they have on their list. I think they probably approached him or just shown general interest in acquiring him. It's not us, guys. I'm telling you, it's not us right now. I want to shut this rumor down. And if it does end up becoming us, I will let you all know, but I don't think it is. This
Yeah,
is
and
something
this
where go ahead.
and this has happened before, right? I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure in 2020 we were rumored with a Dutch keeper from Feyenoord, and he turned out going to LAFC. I'm not sure if we were actually interested
and
or
then
if
for
it
me,
was and he was atrocious too.
yeah, he
He
was
was
terrible.
horrible. So I don't know if it was another case where they just got the clubs mixed up or we were actually interested, but this has happened before, so I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again.
It has to be. It has to be. This is not a Galaxy rumor. This is not something that will be happening for us. It's something that we'll monitor, and maybe they are truly interested in bringing in a fifth goalkeeper. Because if you told me we would have 4, I would have said that you're crazy. Because I did not believe that we're gonna have 4, and we have 4 right now. 5 would be ridiculous. Maybe next season. Maybe if Novak Mitrovic proves to not be that guy, this is something where the Galaxy are like, hey, let's go grab this guy. But I don't think there's no way that they've reached out to this guy on a potential plan for next season already. It's not happening. And by the way, I think we need a center back before we need another goalkeeper in the mix. But yeah, Maya Yoshida was benched for the game against San Jose. We'll transition into that. Maya Yoshida going into this match has been playing terrible. We can't sugarcoat it. He has been atrocious. And Greg Vanny finally pulled the plug. However, he didn't know after the game that Maya Yoshida was dealing with an injury. So this could very much have been something just a precautionary measure. I mean, we have a match Friday. They just want to keep him out. You don't want to risk a veteran on an away game. It makes sense. He did not, obviously the man who got the captain's armband was Marco Reus, who could have been argued to be the captain all along. Quite honestly, I think Maya Yoshida's play has been terrible, but if it is a benching of Maya Yoshida in favor of Zonka, good move, or how did you feel about this in the moment? And then obviously, it ended up paying off, but how did you feel about this when it happened?
I mean, when I saw it happen, I mean, I thought initially it's our only choice, to be honest. We don't have another center back that's kind of on their quality. Zavaleta's not he's bad, but he isn't, at that rate where Yoshida and Zonka are. They're slightly a little bit better. So Zonka's like the only choice. And, luckily Zonka, held his ground that game. He did perform, like average. He didn't, screw up that many times. I think he did a good job fairly to keep a draw. So I mean, you got to do what you got to do when your players aren't performing, especially if it's your captain. You gotta hold them to a higher standard, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this comes a little late. I think when we talk about holding the captain to the higher standard, I think Maya Yoshida has had his spot as a starter way, way too solidified. The fact that this comes 20 games in is ridiculous to me, because I think this should have happened a lot sooner. But at the same time, it's like, what do you do? What do you do when Zonka's the next option? Zonka gave up a goal in this game. I discussed it. I do think that goal is Zonka's fault. It was a wonder strike by the San Jose player, but it's just like, why are we not closing him down? You know what? Let's transition in the game. Maya Yoshida, you are an Al Hilal. We're going into the game. The LA Galaxy draw the San Jose Earthquakes 1-1 in our 20th match of the MLS campaign. This was at Stanford Stadium. And the goal scorers in this match, first of all, San Jose opened up the scoring through, I believe, LaRoe. Bo LaRue.
Something like that.
Bo LaRue ended up opening the scoring in the 16th minute. And, it's just, why is Zonka not closing him down?
I feel like the communication between the back line is just horrible right now. I feel like their play styles between the two center backs, which is Zonka and Garces, is too similar. So they kind of struggle between, who goes up and who stays down. And I feel like it's one of those scenarios where they just don't know, what to do because of like their communication wise. They're just, lacking that.
Yeah. I mean, let's go into the lineup here. Novak Mitrovic was in net. Julian Ade got the start at left back, which I was actually happy about. We've been screaming for it for the longest time, is the fact that Julian Ade has been in Vanny's doghouse, and I think it was time to finally unleash him. And he was good in this match. The Galaxy limited San Jose to one big chance, and they ended up scoring from it, so it's like whatever. Whatever, man. Amiro Gar says Zonka in the back line, we already discussed. Miki Amane right back. Diego Fagundes, Marco Royce, Edwin Cerrillo in the midfield, Joseph Paintsil, Gabriel Peck, and Nascimento up top. This was a first choice lineup. Besides, in my opinion, the fact that I think Lucas Sanabria needs to be starting over Diego Fagundes. And I'm not huge on Sanabria. But I don't think Diego Fagundes should be starting. He didn't do much in this match, in my opinion. I think he performed particularly well. Why not have Lucas Sanabria play an 8? I don't see the vision by Greg Vanny. We talk about the first goal. It was a good pass. It was a good pass by Mark Anthony Kaye to play Bo LaRue into shooting position, and he just nailed it. He just nailed the shot. It was perfect. I'm not mad at that one. I'm just like, I'm a bit frustrated at the fact, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed because why is Zonka not closing him down? I won't get over the fact that all he did was stand there, and then he just, as soon as he shot the ball, Zonka just twerked in front of him. I don't get it. I just put a foot in. Really, even if you give up a free kick, it's okay. It's better than them having a clear shot at the top of the box, because I think a professional soccer player is going to be able to have that. Lucas Sanabria, people in the chat, both saying that Sanabria is whack and hasn't lived up to the hype, but do you think he should have started?
Honestly, yes, because I think Fagundes is, his ability to create chances in the final third is just really poor. For him being a left wing and also being able to play the 10, it's really poor, and it's not what the Galaxy needs. We don't need players that are poor on the field. We need players that at least kind of, have a little bit of grit. And I feel like Sanabria, slowly but surely, he's kind of showing his true form. But I feel like the reason why he hasn't lived up to the hype is I feel like because him and Cerrillo are kind of like the same position. So it's too similar when you have like a double 6 position, because he's kind of out of position when he's playing. He needs to play like a deeper role. And because of Cerrillo being there, it's kind of keeping him a little bit more going forward, and he's not as comfortable, if that makes sense. So I think just give him a game where he's at his true position, and we'll kind of see a little bit more product from him. And obviously, I feel like having Boyd there to guide the midfield is definitely going to add more quality to both him and Cerrillo. And so, yeah.
Look, I didn't watch the Colorado game, and I did hear, however, that he was taken off at halftime because of the altitude, which is not a good sign. When you are coming to the United States, you're going to have to play in a lot of different climates, and the fact that you're not able to get over altitude, which is difficult. I'm not downplaying it, but the fact you have to be subbed out because of it is very worrying to me. Maybe this was punishment for that. Maybe it's like, you know what, get back into fitness. You're going to have to relearn some things. But I feel like Lucas Sanabria was coming around. I feel like Lucas Sanabria was coming around to it. And, but maybe the Colorado game was different. But I just felt like Lucas Sanabria needs a chance to start, because we've seen what Diego Fagundes can do for the LA Galaxy. We've seen the most Diego Fagundes will do for the LA Galaxy, in my opinion. Lucas Sanabria needs to come around, and it's not going to happen without game time. He is not going to magically turn into the player that you wanted him to be, the player that you spent over $5 million on. Why not have Cerrillo and Sanabria play the same position? I mean, the issue is you can't have 2 6s. You need a 6 and an 8. Cerrillo's a 6. He's not an 8. Sanabria's a 6. You can only have one of them. You can't really have 2 6s, or you don't have much going forward. You don't have a balance in the midfield. Go ahead.
And sorry for cutting you off, but
Oh,
I
you're
feel
good.
like having a slow 10 that doesn't drop back also affects that position from,
Yes,
being
right.
um messed with. Because Royce is like, an older player. He doesn't drop back. He's slower, with pace wise, and his stamina is not as high as Ricky's. We can't go into that formation because of that. So we kind of have to play with 1-8 to have running around the midfield. I'm sure that when we have Boyd next season, that position is going to be messed with a little bit more.
Yeah.
But because we don't have Boyd running around the entire game, controlling everybody and everything, we can't mess with that formation yet because we don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Where's the forward progression when you have 2 6s deep lying and you just have a 10 parked up? How do you get the ball forward? How do you move the ball forward? How do you get passing combinations in the midfield? You don't. You get overrun because Marco Royce is not going to drop back. You're having this guy go 90 minutes after 90 minutes after 90 minutes every single match. He's parked up. He's going to stay forward. And without Marco Royce, maybe it's different. Maybe when we have Ricky Puig going forward, then it's fine because Ricky Puig likes to drop back. But right now, you can't play 2 6s, in my opinion, because you wouldn't have forward progression unless it was through the fullbacks to the wingers. And that's just not how the Galaxy play. It's not Vanny Ball. And Vanny Ball sucks at times. It sucks when you don't have a proper 10 like Ricky Puig. But without that, I think you need a real 8. Why Lucas Sanabria, in my opinion, has been struggling is because he's a 6. Lucas Sanabria is a 6. It's poor scouting on the Galaxy's part to bring in a guy who is a 6, and they knew he was a 6, and they brought him in to play an 8. He's not an 8. He has to look. It might sound easy to go from being, holding midfielder to box to box. It's not. It's really not. When he's played that his whole career at Nacional, he built $5 million worth of transfer value by being a 6, and now you're telling him, hey, we know you played 6. You're going to have to play an 8 now. He's going to have to take time to learn. And maybe that's why I can, sympathize with him being a bit gassed in Colorado is the fact that he's having to play the role where it's, back and forth, back and forth. It's the 8 role. You're going all across the midfield. You're going back, you're going forward, you're all over the field. You're having to cover so much mileage and altitude. I can understand why Lucas Sanabria probably got subbed out of the game at halftime. He's not accustomed to it. Going back to this game, I think this was one the Galaxy could have won. And we've said that every single time, but I mean it. The Colorado game is the Colorado game. I don't know. I don't think we would have won the Colorado game regardless. This one, absolutely. We had so many chances. Joseph Paintsil, look, I feel like he's received a lot of criticism, and so much of it has been fair. But this was his worst game in a Galaxy kit by far. The amount of chances he wasted, the amount of shots he skied or sent way wide was baffling to me. I've never seen a worse game from Joseph Paintsil, and I don't think it's close. And we had the last San Jose game where that game was all Paintsil's fault too. This is 2 matches now that Joseph Paintsil has cost us against San Jose, our rival. He's costing us points. He's making over $4 million. Where's the production? And don't think I'm going to leave Peck out of this too. I thought Peck was okay. I thought Peck was decent. My man of the match obviously was Marco Royce. That goes without saying. He had the goal. Nasty Nas got the assist on that. Royce has been phenomenal for the Galaxy this year. Paintsil, Peck, both of you have 4 goals through 20 games of the season. Both of you. What are we doing? This is Ricky Puig's team, and I understand that. But the fact that you're 2 designated players who are making combined salary of over Ricky Puig, over $6 million, have 4 goals for you is doing nothing. It's doing nothing for you. Losing Ricky was going to suck, but the fact that you have this bad a performance from your designated players is really, really telling for me. So, yeah, Thoughts on Joseph Paintsil's game and maybe Gabriel Peck?
I mean, atrocious. I mean, if we're doing the letter grades again, I think we got to give him a D again.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to give him a flat D. It's really bad. It's really bad to watch these guys. Do you think it's a confidence issue with Joseph Paintsil? Do you think it's all a confidence issue? Because clearly there's some confidence in it.
Regarding both of them, it's definitely a confidence issue. I feel like, having that pressure on their shoulders that they have to carry the team now because of the media, what the media makes out of the whole situation with the Galaxy and how bad they are, and we're missing our best player. All the weight is on them. All the weight is on the DPs, and going game into game, and you're not performing. It takes a toll on you, and it lowers your confidence and lowers your ability to work on the pitch, and that's definitely what the issue is.
Yeah. Furthermore, do you think for any of them they're regressing a little bit? Do you think they overperformed last year? Any of them, do you think overperformed what their actual talent is? And maybe this is a combination of regression plus confidence.
No, I don't think this is a regression at all. I think if you look at Paintsil's season before he came to the Galaxy, he had 14 goals and 7 assists. I'm pretty sure, and Genk.
Yeah, he had over 30 in a season.
Yeah, so he definitely hasn't regressed. It's just a confidence issue. I think the player that we saw last season from Paintsil is what we're going to see probably next season again. It's just like a sophomore slump. With Peck, on the other hand, this is kind of that last season was kind of his breakout season. If I'm going to be honest, you never seen anything like that from Peck. Do I think it's a regression season? Probably not. Hopefully not. Because he's young. He has still a lot to fulfill his potential. I think it's another one of those cases where it's just a sophomore slump for both of them.
And I fully agree with that, because I'll look at two things here. The fact that, one, yes, Gabriel Peck's season before he came to the Galaxy was a career high for him before last year, and it was 8 goals. He's never reached double digit. Last season, the Galaxy had 4 players in double-digit goals for the first time in Major League Soccer history that happened. However, he's only 23. He's only 23 years old, and I think he's starting to hit that potential, which you could see last season. Yeah. Last season, that was oh, man, this guy's going to Europe if he performs this again. And it hasn't been there this year. And you also
got to think about the fact that Peck had, not biased at all, but I genuinely think Yamane last season was the best right back in MLS last season. He had the best right back behind him, going up with him, sending him, overlaps. He had that support. Now, it's like Yamane's dropped to bottom 3 right backs in MLS. So you gotta look at the factors outside of that too.
Yeah, let me just get confirmation on that. No, he's 24. He just turned 24. Gabriel Peck's 24 years old. He's still about probably 4 or 5 years away from what you would consider a player's prime.
Yeah.
And he performed like that last year, which tells me that it's not a talent issue. It's not a fluke season. Joseph Paintsil, like you mentioned, had an insane year with Genk before he came to the LA Galaxy. Both of these players are incredibly talented. Our roster is incredibly talented when healthy. With Ricky Puig back, it's insane. It's scary. But I think a lot of this, I argued last year that Peck deserved, team MVP. No. That was one of my worst takes I've ever had, because without Ricky Puig, who is truly shown to be the engine of this team, nobody is able to pick up the slack. Nobody's able to be that number one guy that you expected at least one of these guys to fulfill. And when I talk about a player that I thought would probably be a bit better off to carry the Galaxy on his back this year, it's Paintsil, in my opinion. Not that Paintsil had a better year last year. I thought Peck definitely had a better year last year, although Paintsil was incredible too. I think Joseph Paintsil's proved it more. Joseph Paintsills proved it consistently over his career more than Gabriel Peck does. You're more prone to a sophomore slump with a guy like Gabriel Peck, who's just coming around the block, in my opinion. Joseph Paintsill, man, you've played years without Ricky Pouge. You've had career years without Ricky Pouge with Genk. And Genk's an extremely talented team, but it's just like I thought he would be a guy who could carry the Galaxy on his back, but neither of them are able to. Marco Reus has been phenomenal. I love what Marco Reus does. Going against the highest scoring team in Major League Soccer, holding them to one big chance. I thought our back line was good. I thought that Julian Ade had a nice match. He's getting up and down the line like we always saw from him. Defensively, the back line was solid. I'll criticize Zonka on that one mistake, but like I said on the live match, when you have Zonka in, it's like you start a game down 1-0 because he's prone to one big mistake. But that being said, he wasn't terrible besides that. If you take away that from his performance, I thought he was okay. Miki Amane even was decent. I think, the Galaxy had every opportunity to win this match. And when you look at how we lost it, it's going forward. It was absolutely going forward where we lost it by not being able to capitalize on some chances that we absolutely should have buried in the back of the net. And it's not like we weren't creating. So anything else on this game?
No, I agree with all your statements. I think the backline did have a good game, surprisingly too. Just because of how much threat San Jose has in their attack.
Yeah.
So I agree.
I mean, we don't win a Cali Classico this year. This was our last match against San Jose, barring a Leagues Cup fixture there. The fact that we don't have a Cali Classico win, I mean, at least they didn't get the clean sweep, but that's a bit frustrating. It seems like the players don't get up for this rivalry as much as they used to. Marco Reus was the only guy who really stood on his head. I think even Nascimento, who had an assist in this match, didn't perform, at the best of his abilities. But, I think he's still young and getting a goal contribution regardless as a striker. I think he did your job. So I'm okay with his performance. It's really just the designated players at this point, the players who are being paid the highest on the team that are holding this team back right now, which is ridiculous to say in any scenario. I mean, could you imagine if, everyone's a Lakers fan. Could you imagine if LeBron and Luka were the problem? Like, he'd be like, what's going on here? And that's what you have with the Galaxy. And it's really disappointing. Moving on here to some Julian Ade transfer rumors. You got Julian Ade. This came out today, is the fact that Julian Ade is being linked to Independiente now in Argentina. You saw him linked before to another Argentinian club, Argentinos Juniors, and that ended up not really being anything. He could have definitely been, he could have been a contributor for the LA Galaxy, or it could. Okay, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I think the interest was more so in Claudio Bravo, and they could have been somewhat interested in Julian Ade, but I think Claudio Bravo was their man all along. That deal ended up being finalized. Claudio Bravo of the Portland Timbers goes back to Argentina. I think there's a lot of when there's smoke, there's fire now, and I think this is starting to become something where Julian Ade will be likely sold in the next week, probably, if I had to guess, ahead of the summer window. But it's just interest right now, and we don't have an official, credible source like Corner of the Galaxy on this. But what do you think of this right now?
I mean, it makes sense, just being a backup for a team where I think a lot of the supporters think you should be starting. It starts to question your worth, and I feel like they're probably offering him a starting spot over there in Independiente. Yeah. So it makes sense. It makes sense for him to leave. Honestly, it as a fan though, it does hurt because I feel like he should be the man that should be starting this season. Last season, John Nelson at the end of the last season, that stretch of like 2-3 months, whatever. I mean, John Nelson was incredible last season in those 2 months replacing Ade. But now that Ade is back to full health and everything, he's shown that he he has that starting material and that he can, produce both going up and defending. So, I mean, it's tough to see out of possibly leaving the Galaxy because honestly he's been one of my favorites these last couple of years, and I think he has the potential to definitely be a starter for this team, 100%.
I mean, look, you come to Talking Galaxy for some inside information. This is stuff that I can't reveal on my own Instagram because of the publicity it would get. But thing here, I will tell you that before there's been transfer rumors like last year on Julian Ade, and his camp have completely denied it. Like, no, this is not happening. Like, and on the last rumor, they said, I talked to his camp, and they were like, we haven't heard anything about this, but I think there's a general belief from Julian Ade's camp that, and it makes sense, you don't need inside information to kind of have an idea that they're open to this. I'm sure he's very much open to a return to Argentina. Maybe won't explicitly say it, but I think this is something that will happen. I think this is something that Julian Ade is open to. His camp is open to, and I would expect that this is something that ends up getting done over this transfer window. And it sucks. It really sucks for me because, like you talked about, his potential hasn't fully been tapped in yet. It hasn't been tapped in. And why not just prove it this year? What do you have to lose? In my opinion, the rest of this season, the focus should be 1, Leagues Cup and Campeones Cup, but 2, it should be on developing the players and seeing whether guys like Novak Mitrovic or Julian Ade are your guys going forward. And if they're not, deal them out after the year. And that's okay. It's okay to deal them out if they're not your guys, but how are you going to figure it out? How are you going to figure it out if he is not getting proper game time? He started this match against San Jose and the backline was better. And I think it was an overall better contribution from the backline, maybe not just Julian Ade in particular. But when we talk about potential, I think John Nelson in the chat, Ben, I think John Nelson has showed all of his potential with the LA Galaxy. And it's a solid starter. It's not an elite left back. It's a solid starter. If you're saying that Julian Ade doesn't have potential, I just respectfully, I don't think that's true. He's 22 years old, and he has probably 6 years of his career, and not all of that will be. I don't think the next 6 will be with the Galaxy, but he will reach a better point than where he's at now, and I think his ceiling is high. The Galaxy do not invest $4.5 million in allocation money, or not in allocation. They don't put a $4.5 million transfer fee in Julian Ade if they don't see that this guy has a lot of potential. And when you talk about being a waste of cap space, he's a U22 player. And U22 players, you could look at his salary. Pull up the MLSPA salary, which, by the way, my whole point being is that the salary is irrelevant. We could pull it up right now. Julian Ade is making $360K, which, by the way, is not an overpay. Even if you thought that was an overpay for Julian Ade, he's counting $150K against the cap. So is $150K the overpay that we're arguing here? Because $150K against the cap for Julian Ade is not close to, that's an underpay. But the U22 spot is what the Galaxy are concerned about. The U22 spot is something that you want back if he's not your guy. That's why I say that you're okay to dish him out after the year if he's proven to not be your guy. But at the state that we're in right now, I'm more than comfortable with Julian Ade being the starter for the rest of the year, like Novak Mitrovic, to prove it. But yes, the U22 spot, if that's something that you're arguing, yeah, maybe we should use that on a center back. And by the way, if you want to use a U22 spot on a center back, I know a guy named Jalen Neal that is a U22 player that has a lot of potential. But no, use it on a center back. Use it on a center back. Use it on maybe a quality backup winger, because look at it. Paintsil and Peck having the bad seasons they're having has no real competition towards them. They have no real competition, but are you going to use the U22 spot on competition that's never really going to stand a chance in 2026 to start? I don't think so. Thoughts on Ade? Any additional thoughts here?
Honestly, I think I agree that his ceiling is higher than Nelson's. I think Nelson's kind of already capped at what his potential is going to be at or what his level is at, and you see kind of glimpses of like that European technicality in Alde, where he knows how to play a little bit more advanced than what Nelson shows. Um, I see some things like saying they're dumping out to pay Miller more. If that's the case, that's horribly,
No, I don't
horribly done.
I don't think that's
That's horrible. But yeah, I think Auda, I think he should be the one to stay if anything, and it would be a big loss. About the U22 spot though, yeah, I mean, I think that's the only positive that comes out of this. To be honest with you, we can use that U22 spot for our advantage since Auda is more of a bench player this year around. So
Yeah.
so that does make sense. We it opens up a U22 spot, and we can look out for a more potential center back that's young and that can give us something.
I think Ade will recoup more than a third of the 4.5 million. I think the Galaxy may have to take a little net loss on that, but I think given his age and given his potential, there will be a team that is like maybe Independiente or that team where they're like, okay, we see that there's a lot in the sky. We're gonna go out and we're going to give the Galaxy a good transfer fee so we could acquire him this summer versus the winter. The summer always drives a higher transfer fee, in my opinion, than the winter does when it comes to those kind of dealings there. I don't think any U22 player, by the way, don't be surprised if they sell Julian Ade and don't use that U22 spot, no matter how frustrating that may be. It might just be the case if they don't have a guy lined up or if the target that they really want isn't available until the summer. I wouldn't expect them to use it. I would not expect them to use the U22 spot on a guy that they rush signing when they don't need to rush signing anybody in a position where you are pretty much out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's no real here's my thing. I'll go on record to say this. I don't have an issue if Greg Vanney is not willing to give Julian Ade the spot, the starting spot, and doesn't see him as the long-term starter, it's fine. You're fine. I'm fine dishing him out in the summer if the transfer fee is right and you recoup that spot and use it on somebody useful. However, that would not be my decision. I would stick it out for the rest of the year with Julian Ade as the starter. And if he's your guy at the end of the year, perfect. You got your starter for 2026. And if he's not, it's fine. You can you could dish him out. I'm in between on that. I'm not as stuck to it, but if I was the coach, I would let Ade at least play the rest of this season because I think but I thoughts on playing the newcomers if we don't have a shot at playoffs.
I mean, it makes the most sense, to be honest. I mean, we're not making playoffs. Let's just get the record straight. We're not making playoffs. It makes sense to experiment with the formation with the players for next season. Build up development, for players that don't get the minutes that you do see in your project for the future. It just makes the most sense. It's the most beneficial answer to do. And who cares about like what the record is at the end of the season? As long as we're contenders next season, and we knew that last season, which is this season, that we went out and gave players experience, gave them development on the pitch, and experimented, then by all means go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. The extent to the newcomers playing, I don't know. I feel like when you talk about like newcomers or like young guys, Novak Mitrovic for sure, Julian Ade, another one. Gar says he's still young, let him develop. Center back, you're really just stuck on. I don't think they end up having a guy like Asenge be the starter. That's just not realistic. Cuevas should be starting. Cuevas should be starting, in my opinion. Lucas Sanabria, another reason why Sanabria needs to be starting is the fact that this season is a wash. Look, we are very fortunate that we reap the benefit of a non-relegation league, because if this league were relegation, we would be in much more of a panic than we are right now. And, you know, it's not. We're fortunate that it's not, and we could just really scrap this season and move on to next. No matter how low points we get, we could just move on to next season. And yeah, I just, you know, I really feel like that's the case. Nascimento definitely is the pendant starter. I think you have to start your DPs, but yeah, Lucas Sanabria, Edwin Cerrillo in the midfield, and then Marco Royce, I think, needs to be part of the lineup going forward. Just really the big change there being Cuevas and Ade as the fullbacks need to be the pendant starters, in my opinion. Lucas Sanabria, I think, will come around though. I think, you know, the price was hefty, but I think he will come around to somewhat worth that value, and he has a lot of time to do it. We got a game preview, everyone. The LA Galaxy play on the 4th of July. As per tradition, they've done it every year since 1996, barring the COVID year, against the Vancouver Whitecaps. It's usually against a Canadian team. The past 2 years, we've obviously done the Rose Bowl El Trafico. Luckily, this comes back to Dignity Health Sports Park for a much friendlier environment for this match if you're looking to bring the family, although we'll go over some news that would probably suggest that you might want to, you know, this might be a game where a lot of people end up staying at home. But the Galaxy will host the Vancouver Whitecaps. Vancouver Whitecaps are second in the Western Conference, coming off of a 1-0 a 1-0 win against Chivas USA on the road, which is a very good result for them. They have a game in hand, I believe. So if they win this game, they will jump to first in the Western Conference and first in the Supporters Shield. Meanwhile, for us, if we win this game, we will go from last to last. So, you know. Anyway, initial thoughts on this match.
Don't go to that game. It's gonna be a slaughterhouse, and I'm not talking about the Galaxy slaughtering. I'm talking about the Galaxy getting slaughtered. Yeah. Vancouver at the top of the Western Conference. I mean, this has probably been one of the worst Western conferences in record.
It's by far. Yeah.
But you know, Vancouver is a team that they look really good. Like they look really good. Brian White, you know, is leading them, and they don't have Berhalter yet, right?
In fact, I think Brian White might be out for this game.
Brian White, nice. Okay.
They've had a lot of people out due to injury and international duty. Although Canada losing will directly impact this game because they may get players back. But go on.
Yeah. So you know, with them getting stronger and stronger, it just doesn't look like a game where the Galaxy are gonna win.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, none of these games have looked like Galaxy are gonna win. It looks like more that you're gonna have to lean with the Galaxy tying. So I'm leaning towards a loss on this one.
If Prod's right in the chat, Ryan Gauld will make his first appearance for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Perfect. You know, they're first in the West on points per game without Ryan Gauld, and they're about to get their best player back. Perfect. You know, it's great. Against us, too. Perfect. Cheers, lads. How many of the last 5 home games in the 4th have we won or lost? I know we lost last year. I know we lost last year for sure, and then we won the Rose Bowl game before that. I could chat GPT this, although that's not the most accurate source. But 4th of July fireworks in this match. You definitely want to stay if you are going. Make sure that you don't leave before. Let's get an answer here. How many of the last 5 4th of July LA Galaxy games have they won? According to ChatGPT, the LA Galaxy last 5 matches. Okay, I don't know why this says 4th of. Okay. Anyway, what are the keys to winning this match?
Oh, that's a
What are the
tough
keys
one.
to getting a result?
Well, we have to have a strong backline. That's for one. We have to have the midfield on point, and we have to have Paintsell putting the ball on target when he's right by the penalty spot, and it literally just needs a quick little finesse. Peck, power behind his shots. Nascimento, I feel like he just needs to keep doing what he's doing. He's doing pretty good, and Royce is continuing it with his form. Those are all what it needs to take for the Galaxy to win. Takes a lot.
Yeah. According to ChatGPT, the LA Galaxy, I guess just have according to Samuel in the chat, we won in 2022 and lost in 2021. So that would, including 2019, we do have a positive winning record on the 4th of July. So, I do agree with you. I think Marco Reus will be the key to this match if he's able to, really unlock what he's been doing this year. You look at the LAFC game; they don't have anybody like Marco Reus going forward. So I think Marco Reus. I think Marco Reus is definitely the man to watch. It goes without saying. He's been the key to all of our success of one win this year. Has been him. Well, just really anything going forward that the Galaxy accomplishes through Marco Reus. Underrated player that I think could have a big impact in this game. I think is Edwin Cerrillo. I think this game is won or lost in the midfield. Do we get overrun? Do we get overrun by the Vancouver Whitecaps? Or do we have some balance in there? I think Edwin Cerrillo has a big task on his hands because the Whitecaps have a very, very good midfield. You look at how they've won without, their star player, Ryan Gauld, for as long as they have. It's the midfield. It's really the midfield for the Vancouver Whitecaps. It's been a complete rejuvenation of what they did from last season, and it's been an overhaul, and Edwin Cerrillo has a task on his hands, and if he can control it, I think that is an underrated part. If we could continue to generate chances and hold them to a San Jose-like performance. If we come out of this match with Vancouver having one big chance, I think we will get a result out of this. If we hold it again like we held San Jose, I think we definitely will get a result out of this. But that being said, Vancouver Whitecaps are different this year. Much more well-rounded team. Starting lineup prediction. I'll let you take this away, Meme, so you could go position by position.
I'm gonna go with the same backline that started against San Jose.
Okay.
I think they did pretty well, which is that's gonna consist of Aude, Zonka, Garces, and Yamane. Midfield, same as usual. It's going to be Sergio, Sanabria, and Royce. Paintsell, Peck, and Nascimento. That's my starting 11. I would like to see Cuevas come in too. I hope he gets some minutes.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think I think Sanabria probably gets the start in this one. I think at a point as well, I don't think it's this match because of how big it is, but maybe the midweek match, you're going to have to bench Marco Reus for one of these games. As much as we love Marco Reus, you keep playing him 90 minutes and he's going to snap. He's like, he's like a glow stick. He's just going to snap at a point, man. With the injuries and the track record that he has over the course of his career, it's only a matter of time if you keep playing Marco Reus 90 minutes. It will not be this match, though, because this is a big fixture for the LA Galaxy in terms of, it's a measuring stick of how far apart you are from a team like the Vancouver Whitecaps. And, we already went over the Vassin rumors in the chat. I think it's an LAFC rumor, and I don't think there's much to it. We got a statement in the chat. I think they go with the veteran in goal. Do you think John McCarthy do you think there's any chance he starts this game?
Maybe just because it's 4th of July. Maybe that's the only reason why.
Just some 4th of July pride. No, he's not. He's not starting this match. I don't think. I think Novak Mitrovic is the starter until he proves that he is not the starter. But score predictions for the LA Galaxy. We got a tale of best in the West, or second best right now, against worst in the league. Score prediction.
I'm gonna go with the 2-0 loss.
Okay.
I think this is the first time I'm saying Galaxy are gonna lose this whole season 2 on pod.
Which is crazy when we have one win. I am also going to go with a loss. I think we will lose 1-0. I think it will be a very boring game where the Vancouver Whitecaps are going to score and be like, wait, we're playing the LA Galaxy. They're not a threat to us. This is an away game. We're just going to sit and, we're just going to sit back and play with the Galaxy because we know they have no chance of competing with a team like us. And we're not coming out with any sort of result from this match. It's going to be a loss. It will be a closer one than I think people expect. But, once again, I can't predict this team to win, really. I didn't predict us to win the Colorado or San Jose game. I said that there would... You know what, though? I got the game switched up. I said that we would lose San Jose and draw Colorado, and we lost San Jose. We drew San Jose and lost Colorado. This match will definitely be a loss, though.
Yeah, agree.
No debating. No, I don't think anyone's debating that. It's gonna be a loss, and I don't think, I just don't think the Whitecaps are that incentivized to, dump the goals on the Galaxy. Maybe to humiliate us, if that's really what they want to do. We got a 9-0 win in the chat. Great. Just a master rage baiter. Another thing about this match that I think we definitely have to go over before we head out of here is the fact that there's a good chance Ice will be at this match, as Ice were at the Galaxy Stadium. Ice were at the Galaxy Stadium today. I will be very clear here. The Galaxy did not permit them to enter. And according to Cal State Dominguez Hills, they're not doing any sort of law enforcement, but they are around and present. And they said if there is, any law enforcement going on, any enforcement by ICE going on, that they will let us know updates. But they're just here. If you were debating sitting this match out and you have any concerns about this, I would expect ICE to probably be at this match. It is our first game since all of this chaos has started. I would expect probably a supporters protest during this game, as the Galaxy are still without a statement. But really disappointing to see that, although the Galaxy didn't authorize, it's really gross. So who let them in? They let themselves in. Anybody can get into the Galaxy Stadium, really. So yeah. Thoughts on this, Names?
Yeah, just really disappointing. That's the only way to really put it. It's just disappointing and it's ugly. It's rough, to be honest, to see that at a place where people go to bond with their families and stuff like that. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible to see this. The Galaxy games, sporting events are supposed to be, family-friendly atmospheres where people can have a good time and enjoy the Galaxy losing a game without having to worry about any of this going on. And the fact that it is just, it's... You can't even feel safe at, you can't even feel safe at your own Galaxy Stadium without this nonsense going on. And it's terrible to see. And I would definitely expect a protest to happen, but be on the lookout. I just want to warn all of you guys ahead of time that there is a likely ICE presence at this game. when and if there inevitably is, I will be posting it on my Instagram. So keep up to date with that to keep you all informed before the match. But if you have any sort of hesitation on going to this game because of this, it's likely going to be there on the 4th of July. So and the fact that they're targeting these games is just it's gross. And it's it's really bad. It's just really bad to see that these targetings, like with the Galaxy's huge with the Galaxy's huge fan base being of very culturally and ethnically diverse communities within Los Angeles, there is a very sick and twisted reasoning behind why ICE targets stadiums and sporting events, specifically soccer and Club World Cup games. It's sick. It's really sick. And there is a reasoning behind this, is the fact that they know that sporting events tend to have, especially soccer, tend to have a lot of, they're even at Dodgers games. They even tried to go up to Dodger Stadium, and they parked outside. Basically, they parked before you go up the hill to Dodger Stadium. They parked outside of that because of the huge diversity in the fan bases, and they see that, and it's just gross. It's really gross, and it's bad. It's all bad, and it's just it's tough to see this happening, and especially at our own stadium, and stomping grounds for sure. So, anything else you have, memes?
Regarding this topic, I would honestly just pray that everybody stays safe. If I were you, I would definitely stay home, just because of how chaotic everything is. It's sad. And it's best to stay home.
Yeah.
But if you do go to the game, please be extra cautious and please be safe, and try to walk in groups that ICE want to target, I guess. I mean, if you want to be extra precautious, I know that they're targeting a certain group based on profiling. So
yeah. And make sure to know your rights when it comes to ICE. Make sure to know your rights, because that's very important. There's a lot of things that they can't legally do to you. So just make sure that you stay on the lookout for that and know your rights when it comes to ICE. So yeah, it's really sad times just in this world, and a lot of people see soccer as like an outlet or a distraction from everything going on in the world. A lot of people see sporting events in general as a distraction from all of this, and the fact that this is happening at sporting events and even trickles into that territory. It's just, you can't even have an escape from it. You can't even try to pretend like it's not happening, because it's right outside of your stadium. It's right outside of your favorite club's stadium, whether the Galaxy authorized them to go in or not, which they did not. It's just, and I once again would expect a supporters, at least from Victoria block. I don't know as many people in Lars. I'm sure they will also do something too, as they commented on it, but I would expect a protest in this game. So, it's just, we're sorry to hear that. We're really sorry to hear that, Prod. That's terrible. Just absolute prayers for him and your family. Everyone, just make sure you stay safe. And it is very important to be educated when it comes to these topics and in the loop. And I understand that not everyone's able to be in the loop, so we just want to use our platform to be very clear on what's going on at Dignity Health Sports Park right now. And just for everyone to be cautious. It's, you want to use your platform to do good and spread the word. And if you see something, feel free to message LA Galaxy_Buzz on Instagram, and I'll be sure to relay that information out there. Yeah, it's just prayers. It's scary times. It's scary times, and I fully understand the fact that I don't think a lot of people will show up to this game, even it being a 4th of July special game. Just it's not the time right now. I don't think it's the time, and seeing this kind of reiterates that statement for a lot of people, that it's not entirely safe to be going to these games. So totally understand anyone who makes that decision. You have to do what you have to do for you and your security and your family's security. Memes, anything else on that note that we have tonight?
Nothing much. He covered it all pretty well.
Yeah. It's difficult. The fact that we reach hour 25 on this team every Tuesday is crazy, because it's hard to talk about this team sometimes when it's just the same stuff over and over again, really. When it comes to just losing game after game, not winning, it's hard to bring stuff up when it comes to LA Galaxy and find stuff to talk about. But we do appreciate all of you guys for tuning in week out, showing up to the live podcast, showing up on away games. We have a live podcast every away games. This is your first time, make sure to like right now and subscribe if you can. Turn on bell notifications so you never miss when we go live. Where can they find you, Memes?
You can find me at LA Galaxy Memes on Instagram, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
As for myself, I am LA Galaxy_Buzz on Instagram, or Florian Wirtz Pong on TikTok if you need to find me there for some reason. Talkin Galaxy on Instagram as well. Although Griffin does an interesting job at running that account. He's very busy.
We'll make sure to revamp the account, guys. We'll have some talks to fix it up and be more active. We promise. We'll just what a little. It's the first year, so
yeah,
first season, experimenting some things. But trust me, we'll be up and running on the account more often.
We promise. Ideally, we want like stream clips and stuff. We have a lot of ideas that are still in the making for what we want to end up doing going forward. But Talking Galaxy on Instagram will be revamped very soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much, Memes, for showing up.
No problem, everybody.
Yeah, thank you all in the chat for supporting us, and we will we'll see you again on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And go Galaxy.